Hello and welcome to another Magic the Gathering unboxing. So we're looking at the second of the four Commander 2019 decks. This is the Sevain, the Chronoclasm deck, or Mystic Intellect as they're calling it. So this particular deck is in Jeskai colours, blue, red, white. And as with the other commander decks, we'll see that there is the primary commander here being Sevain the Chronoclasm, and there's two secondary commanders which you can switch out. And once we open the deck, we'll take a closer look at the primary commander. So let's just flip this over and read through the sales blurb on the back. So choose your commander and carve your path to victory in this unique multiplayer Magic format. Team up with Sevain to flash back spells for double the value, control the battlefield and make sure you are the last player standing. Thanks to his brilliant mind, Sevain excelled at the Tolarian Academy but quickly grew restless with books and study. He now wanders Dominaria in search of adventure, relying on his wealth of arcane knowledge and magical skills to navigate the strange and dangerous places he travels. As with the other decks, there is inside of this the deck box, of course, as I mentioned on the previous video. Once you sleeve that up, the cards aren't going to fit in there. If you use those tight fit sleeves, they just about fit. The deck, being a commander deck, 100 cards. There's 17 new cards, some of which of those cards are in multiple of the decks, and there's also the double-sided token cards that they always now include. There's one full oversized commander, which is the primary commander. There's a strategy insert and a reference card, which is a sort of Magic the Gathering sized card. So let's open this up. So I'll do like I did in the previous videos for Commander. Obviously I'm going to go through all the commanders, anything that is of a rarity of rare or mythic, and also all of the new cards in the deck. Because as it says on the insert on the back of the deck, there's quite a few newly printed Magic cards in this deck. Okay. One thing I've noticed with this, and I don't know how well it's coming out on camera, the foiling process, or the, well, not so much the process, but the interaction, I suppose is the word I'm looking for, between the foil and the artwork is particularly good on these cards. With some of the artwork, the previous deck is a good example. It had almost like a 3D quality to it. So I'm going to go through this insert again. I know I did it on the previous video. The basic layout of this is the same. Of course, the content changes based on the deck. So they have some specific instructions about playing the deck. It lists who the primary commander is, who the secondary commanders are for this. You know, what the basic strategy of the deck, what the focus is of the deck, whether or not the deck contains like a side strategy, and also explains, if you were to use the alternate commanders here, how that might change the way the deck is played. Then we've got a basic section which is the same in all the inserts, which is the commander rules, and then we flip it over, we've got a bit of backstory. What you'll notice with these decks is you have 3 on-color commanders, and then additionally there's at least one legendary creature in the deck on top of that, which is in which isn't necessarily in all of the colours of the deck. So the point here is you can take that commander and spin out another deck. Obviously you're going to have to add in additional cards because some of the cards that are currently in the deck would be off colour. I've noticed that the one in the previous pack there was a 2-colour commander, so you would only be able to use certain cards in the deck, and some of those might not be relevant to the strategy of the deck. So it's just another way to help you basically build other stuff around the starting product. Okay. So we'll start off with Savine the Chronoclasm. So 2 blue, red, white. As I mentioned, Jeskai colours. Legendary creature, human wizard, 2/2. Prevent all damage that would be dealt to Savine the Chronoclasm. Whenever you cast your first instant or sorcery spell from your graveyard each turn, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. So what's interesting looking at the colour of this general, it really does map onto the abilities. And you can see, we've seen lots of cards in the Magic's history, particularly blue-red stuff that cares about instants and sorceries that will copy them and allow you to choose new targets. And then things like damage prevention, very much stuff that we see in white. So this is a great way in which the color identity of the commander maps really well to the appropriate abilities there. And we got Elsha, I think that is Elsha of the Infinite, 2 blue, red, white, so same casting cost there. A legendary creature, Jin Monk. It's a 3/3 and it has prowess on it. So with prowess, just to remind you, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. You may look at the top card of your library any time. You may cast the top card of your library if it's a non-creature, non-land card, and you may cast it as though it has flash. And then we've got Premicon Sky Rampant, blue, red, white, legendary creature, wall, flying and defender. As Premicon Sky Rampant, Rampart, did I say rampant? Oh, I meant Rampart. Sky Rampart enters the battlefield, choose left or right. Each player may attack only the nearest opponent in the chosen direction, and planeswalkers controlled by that opponent, and it's a 1/5 legendary creature, wall. So all 3 of these commanders that we've looked at so far are, I believe they're all new cards actually. Let me just, so we've got Premicon, yep. Elsha, actually Elsha isn't new, but Savine is. So yeah, this is just something to point out here if you've not seen a lot of Commander product. In fact, I think Elsha maybe is as well, saying that. So they're all 3. What I was curious about with this product is sometimes when they produce these commander decks, they've done this thing where they've had like 2 new commanders and then an older one that's is a reprint. With this product, actually now I've had a chance to just double check off camera. In fact, all 3 of these commanders, the on-color commanders, are all new cards. But with, like I said, with previous commander products, particularly the early ones, they often had a commander included in here that was on colour, which was a reprint, basically. So then we've got our stack of tokens. So we've got spirit and human. These are all double-sided, spirit, human, Pegasus and human, Pegasus and human, Drake. And you can see they've, as I pointed out with the previous unboxing, they've changed the look of tokens quite considerably. Drake and human. Clearly something in here is spitting out Drake tokens. Drake and human. What is that? Human. In humans, I mean, also spitting out treasure tokens. Human. So it's again something they tend to do is they sort of group these decks. So you've got, you know, start off when you open it up, you've got your commanders, you've got your tokens. Then they start off with non-rares, as we found in the other deck. Some of these may be new. So Cliffside Rescuer is a new card. 1 and a white 2/2 creature core soldier with vigilance. Tap, sacrifice Cliffside Rescuer. Target permanent you control gains protection from each of your opponents until end of turn. It can't be blocked, targeted, dealt damage, enchanted or equipped by anything controlled by those players. So yeah. A new one, Leadership Vacuum. Another new card, 2 and a blue, instant, target player returns each commander they control from the battlefield to the command zone. You also get to draw a card. Bloodthirsty Blade, another new card, 2 to cast, artifact enchantment, artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+0 and is goaded. So let's see what goaded is. It attacks each combat if able and attacks a player other than you if able. For 1, attach Bloodthirsty Blade to target creature and opponent controls. Activate this ability only any time you could cast a sorcery. Scaretiller is in the deck. This I believe was in the previous deck. So a newly printed card. 4 to cast, 1/4 artifact creature Scarecrow. Whenever Scaretiller becomes tapped, choose 1. So we've got modal ability here. You put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped, or return a target land card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Ghostly Prison is in the deck. This is a reprint, and this is an uncommon. Prismatic Strands we also have in here. So we're getting onto a number of reprints in the deck. It's got flashback on it. Purify the Grave. Ray of Distortion. Chemist's Insight. Deep Analysis. Flashback on it. So you can see here obviously there's a lot of abilities from previous sets as these are reprints. So we've got jump starts in the deck, we've got flashback. Fact or Fiction is in this deck, and that's an uncommon. Fervent Denial. Mystic Retrieval. Una's Grace. Runic Repetition. Secrets of the Dead. Think Twice is in here at common. Got Burning Vengeance. So we're moving on to some red spells now. Desperate Ravings with flashback. Faithless Looting. The card with flashback on it. Gutter Snipe, another card that cares about instants or sorceries. So you're going to see a lot of cards like this that are themselves instants or sorceries, or care about instants or sorceries, and basically just allow you to, you know, recast cards that are in your graveyard that have flash, you know, so cards with flashback on it. Rolling Tremblor. Crackling Drake is in here. Its power and toughness is equal to the number of instant and sorcery cards you own in exile and in your graveyard. Farm to market. It's got Aftermath on it. And moving on to our artifacts, we got Armory Sphere, pretty popular card in Commander decks. We've got the Azorius Locket. So there's plenty of artifacts that are like 2-color artifacts to pull from throughout Magic's history, and Azorius Locket's 1, 3 to cast. You can tap to add white or blue, but then it has extra ability where for a cost, in this case, for white-blue hybrid, you can sacrifice it and draw 2 cards. Burnished Heart, colourless ramp spell. And now we move back to we're moving on to the rares now, but also a number of these are going to be new cards. So Mandate of Peace, there's a cycle of mandates in this particular set, in this commander set. So 1 and a white instant, cast this spell only during combat. Your opponents can't cast spells this turn. End the combat phase, and then it just reminds you what happens when you end a combat phase. So remove all attackers and blockers from combat, exile all spells and abilities from the stack, including this spell. Savine's Reclamation. So you have a namesake card tied in with the lead commander. And this is also a new card. So 2 and a white, sorcery, return target permanent card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. If this spell was cast from a graveyard, you may copy this spell and may choose a new target for the copy. Flashback 4 and a white. You may cast this card from your graveyard for its flashback cost, then exile it. Thalia's Geist Cooler, another new card. 2 and a white, creature human cleric, lifelink, so 3/1. Whenever you cast a spell from your graveyard, create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying, sacrifice the spirit. Thalia's Geist Caller gains indestructible until end of turn. Mass Diminish, 1 and a blue, sorcery. Until your next turn, creatures target player controls have base power and toughness 1/1. It's got flashback 3 and a blue on it. Another new card. Wall of Stolen Identity. 3 and a blue, creature shapeshifter wall, 0/0. You may have Wall of Stolen Identity enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except it's a wall in addition to its other types and has defender. When you do, tap the copied creature and it doesn't untap during its controller's untap step for as long as you control Wall of Stolen Identity. Got Backdraft Hellkite. Another new card, 3 and 2 red, 4/4 creature dragon with flying. Whenever Backdraft Hellkite attacks, each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard gains flashback until end of turn. The flashback cost is equal to its mana cost. Dockside Extortionist, another new card. 1 and a red, 1/2 creature goblin pirate. When Dockside Extortionist enters the battlefield, create X treasure tokens. So this is where our treasure tokens are coming from, or one place they're coming from. Where X is the number of artifacts and enchantments your opponents control. Treasure tokens are artifacts with tap. Sacrifice this artifact, add 1 mana of any colour. Ignite the Future. Yes, another new card. 3 and a red, sorcery. Exile the top 3 cards of your library. Until the end of your next turn, you may play those cards. If this spell was cast from a graveyard, you may play cards this way and without paying their mana costs. And it has flashback, quite a high flashback cost, 7 and a red. So we have a legendary creature here in here, which I think, as I mentioned at the start of the video, you could spin out for it to create another commander deck. Gerard, Weatherlight Hero, 2 red white, legendary creature, human soldier. It's a 3/3 with first strike. When Gerard, Weatherlight Hero dies, exile it and return to the battlefield all artifact and creature cards in your graveyard that were put there from the battlefield this turn. So it's quite a big difference from a number of other cards in the deck. So if you were going to build a deck around this particular legendary creature as your commander, then the deck is going to be quite different. And you may find there's not many cards in here that would be usable in this new deck, and you would be pretty much starting from scratch. But I'm sure there's some things in here in red or white that might, utility cards that might fit in. The other thing to remember with this card is it's brand new. We've seen obviously Gerard as a character in Magic before, but this is this particular card that features Gerard is new. Basically, it's one of the new cards. Empowered Auto Generator, 4 to cast. It's an artifact. Empowered Auto Generator enters the battlefield tapped. Tap. Put a charge counter on Empowered Auto Generator at X mana of any one color, where X is the number of charge counters on Empowered Auto Generator, and that is another new card. Got Pristine Angel in this deck. Pristine Angel is at Mythic. It's flying. It's a 4/4. As long as Pristine Angel is untapped, it has protection from artifacts and from all colours. Whenever you cast a spell, you may untap Pristine Angel. So it looks like we're now moving on to more reprints. So we've got Sun Titan in the deck. If you're playing white, always useful card to have in the deck. 4 and 2 white, Vigilance. When Sun Titan enters the battlefield or attacks, you may return target permanent card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. And it's a 6/6. We've got Clever Impersonator. We're in blue, so why not have cards that create copies of other cards. 2 and 2 blue, 0/0 creature shapeshifter. You may have Clever Impersonator enter the battlefield as a copy of any non-land permanent on the battlefield. Also, as with the other deck, we're getting a Planeswalker in here. This is Ral Zarek. 2 blue-red, legendary Planeswalker Ral. It's got 4 loyalty. So its +1 is tap target permanent, then untap another target permanent. -2 is Ral Zarek, deals 3 damage to any target. And the -7 ultimate, flip 5 coins. Take an extra turn after this one for each coin that comes up heads. Divine Reckoning, 2 and 2 white, sorcery. Each player chooses a creature they control, destroy the rest. It's flashback, 5 and 2 white. Dust to Dawn. So the dust part, we've got destroy all creatures with 3 power or greater, and that's at sorcery speed. And Dawn also at sorcery speed. 3 and 2 whites. So Dusk was 2 and 2 white. Dawn is 3 and 2 white. Also sorcery speed. It has Aftermath. So cast this spell only from your graveyard, then exile it. Return all creature cards with power 2 or less from your graveyard to your hand. Increasing Devotion. 3 and 2 white sorcery, create 5 1/1 white human creature tokens. If this spell was cast from a graveyard, create 10 of those tokens instead, and it has a flashback cost of 7 and 2 white. Here's where our Pegasus tokens are coming from. So 8 and 2 white sorcery, create X 1/1 white Pegasus creature tokens with flying, where X is your life total. And we have a monocolor legendary in here as well. It's a Talpal Primal Dawn, 6 and 2 white. It's a 4/8 legendary creature, Elder Dinosaur. Flying, double strike, village, vigilance, trample, and indestructible. So you've got an interesting potential for a mono white commander deck here. Lots of interesting shenanigans you can get up to. I'm trying to think of the name of the legendary creature in white. It's taken two forms now over the years. I think it was originally printed in one of the core sets, but there is an iteration of that particular character where its ability, when it's on the battlefield, duplicates abilities like this and spreads them across all of the other creatures that you're playing. And the name of the commander I just cannot remember. So when I see cards like that I just in white, I'm always reminded of that, because it is also a mono white legendary creature. I know it's something tactician is one of the versions of it. Jace's Sanctum, 3 and a blue, instant and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, scry 1. River Kelpie's in this deck, so we're seeing a number of interesting reprints here as we move into this sort of reprint section of rares. 3 and 2 blue, creature beast, it's a 3/3. Whenever River Kelpie or another permanent enters the battlefield from a graveyard, draw a card. When a player casts a spell from a graveyard, draw a card. It's also got Persist. So if you've not seen Persist before, it comes from dear me, I'm having trouble remembering because these are from all over the place. But it's that I don't know if it's specifically Morningtide, but that period in Magic. So yeah, from that particular set or that period where they had morning. Yeah. Anyway, I'm sure someone in the comments section will remind me. But when a creature dies, if it had no -1/-1 counters on it, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control with a -1/-1 counter on it, and it's 3/3. Oh, I had a feeling this might be in the deck. So we've got another legendary creature here, so another potential commander that we could blue if we wanted to build a mono blue deck. I did notice those Drake tokens, so I did wonder if Talrand was in here. So Talrand Sky Summoner, 2 and 2 blues, a 2/2 legendary creature, Merfolk Wizard. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create a 2/2 blue Drake creature token with flying. Yeah, Talrand's always a really interesting deck to build. Devil's Play, X and a red sorcery. Devil's Play deals X damage to any target, flashback X and 3 red. Increasing Vengeance, so 2 red instant, copy target instant or sorcery spell you control. If this spell was cast from a graveyard, copy that spell twice instead. You may choose new targets for the copies, and we got flashback of 3 and 2 red. Mana Quake, X and 2 red instant. Magma Quake. Magma Quake deals X damage to each creature without flying and each planeswalker. Pristine Skywise, 4 white blue, creature dragon flying. It's a 6/4. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, untap Pristine Skywise, it gains protection from the colour of your choice until end of turn. We've got Refuse to Cooperate. So the refuse part is an instant. Refuse deals damage to target spells controller equal to that spell's converted mana cost. And Cooperate is also instant. It's got Aftermath. Cast this spell only from your graveyard, then exile it. Copy target instant or sorcery spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. And now we move on to the non-basic lands. You're going to see quite a few of these in multiple decks. So we've got Exotic Orchard, any 1 mana, add 1 mana of any colour that a land an opponent controls could produce. We're also going to see uncolour versions of these. So these come into play tapped. unless you control 2 or more basic lands. This is Prairie Stream, so it's the white-blue one. We've got Commander Sphere in this deck, pretty handy artifact. So 3 to cast, add 1 mana of any colour in your commander's colour identity. So great fixing for the deck, but also you can sacrifice this and use it to draw a card if that isn't particularly useful to you. Is it Locket? So we did see a Locket earlier, we've now got the Is It version of this. So 3 to cast, adds blue or red, and for 4 blue-red hybrid you can tap it, sack it, and draw 2 cards. And all of the Lockets had that same ability, but obviously on colour for the particular 2-colour version of it that they were. So this is the blue-red one, so the activated ability there is in blue-red, and you know there's a cycle of these, 10 of these basically. So I would imagine this is the second deck we've seen these in, so I imagine these cropping up all over the other decks, that and basically being on colour for that. Got Soul Ring, I assume this is going to be in all the decks. Single mana to cast, tap, add 2 colourless mana. Then we've got our basic lands, and I'm assuming they've done with this what they usually do, which is to include artwork from a set that is relevant to a plane tied in with the Planeswalker. But I don't know how consistent they are about doing that on all the Commander products, but I know they've done that in the past. Okay, so some more non-basics here. We've got Ash Barrens. We've seen this in the previous deck. So tap, add colourless, but it also has basic land cycling for 1 mana of any colour. So you just pay that, discard this card, search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. Yeah, the tap and bounce lands from the original Ravnica block are in these decks. So we've got the blue-white one here, Azorius Chancery, comes into the battlefield tap, you have to bounce another land. It can be any land, doesn't have to be a basic land, by the way. So with utility lands where there's an ability when it enters the battlefield, and I don't know how many of those we actually got in this deck, that's quite handy to be able to basically replay a utility land which has an enter the battlefield ability. And once this gets into play, the good thing with it is you tap it and it produces 2 colours of mana. In this case it's the white-blue one, so you get white-blue. Boros Garrison, these are tap lands. Sorry, this is tap and bounce basically. This is the red-white one. We've got Guildgates in the decks, so we've got the red-white one here. These just come into battlefield tap, but they are a gate. And so I don't think there's any in this deck, but there are cards that care about basically gates being in play. Although I don't know if they'd have any relevance in this particular deck. So you've got Command Tower. Add 1 mana of any colour in your commander's colour identity. Very useful card. Evolving Wilds is in the deck. Good old Evolving Wilds. You tap it, sacrifice it, search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tap, then shuffle your library. Highland Lake, tap land in blue and red. No extra abilities on that, but it's not a gate. Is it Boiler Works? So this is the third relevant one for this particular colour of deck from the original Ravnica tap and bounce lands. We've got Is It Guildgate? So the Guildgate for blue-red. Got Myriad Landscape in here. So it enters the battlefield tap. You can tap it for colourless, And for 2 mana of any colour, tap it, sacrifice it, search your library for up to 2 basic land cards that share a land type, put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. With these 3 colour decks, I assume they're all going to have the appropriate 3 colour land in them. So we've got Mystic Monastery, because this is a blue, red, white deck. Stone Quarry, the tap land in red or white. Swiftwater Cliffs. This is the one of the life gain lands, the blue red one. So you enter the battlefield tapped, and when it enters the battlefield you gain life. So tap and life gain. Temple of the False God, another non-basic land that crops up all over the Commander products. So you tap this, add 2 colourless, activate this ability only if you control 5 or more lands. Terramorphic Expanse. Who would have thought? Sacrifice Terramorphic Expanse, search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. Tranquil Cove is the white blue tap and life gain. Windscarred Crag, same but in red white. And then we have our format reminder cards. So I'm trying to think what they called that actually. Oh, they just called it a reference card. I think that's what they're referring to. So again, another very interesting deck. With the lead commander as Savine the Chronoclasm. In there. I hope you've enjoyed this particular unboxing. I know I always enjoy opening Commander product, and that's one thing I think that's going to always remain on this channel. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye for now.